Because to me, that used on the deal with young fellows.
Hey, Mike.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you go. Get the better mic on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome.
How's life?
Good, good. I dropped my phone yesterday. I broke my phone, so I have to go get it fixed.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. I'm annoyed.
Did it crash just the screen or the whole thing's
Well,
broken?
it's kind of the whole thing. It didn't really crack. It was more the LED lights. There's a lot of lines, and I can't touch anything. So this morning, my alarm went off, and I couldn't turn off the alarm. Man, I was so annoyed.
Oh no. Yeah. It's like
So
holding
I
down the
just
power
turned the
button.
the flashlight to it, and I turned on the flashlight. I put it outside, and I let it just die.
Yeah. Well, good luck. That sucks. That's a good call though. Just let it die out so you don't have to worry about it. Hey Tony.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Hey Tony, how's it going,
doing?
Tony?
Hey, how you doing, everybody on here?
Okay.
I'm waiting for my friend to chime in. He has the M2 set up in his garage, and we got pretty much we set up everything to spec as far as the instructions went. We're just having trouble calibrating it.
That's the toughest part. Yeah. So we can totally help you out. Is he going to be there in the garage with it?
Yeah, he's downloading the app right now. I mean the Zoom app.
Oh, okay. Whoop. You broke up there a little
Get
bit.
it set up or whatever, and it was giving him problems. So he should be coming on any minute.
Yeah. Nice beard, man.
Yeah, thank you, bud.
I like it. So
Yes.
what was it doing with calibration? Like what kind of problems are you having?
Well, we're both new to it, so he pretty much we figured out like the Z, the X and the Y axis, but it was just we got it to move a little bit, but kind of the lingo and everything is completely new to us. We're new to it completely. So I actually acquired the all the equipment from Juan Ramos.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's a childhood friend of mine, and I grabbed everything from him. So he's like, he didn't have the time to work with it, so we just took the project on.
Yeah, right on. Well, when he jumps on here, we can see if we can troubleshoot and help you get going, and at least give you some tips and tricks. If he's unable to join, then that you guys can take back to the shop.
Yeah, but when we send her the chains and everything, it's like we were just we were trying to like zero everything out. We're going by like some of the YouTube videos, and at one point the sled just kept going all the way up, so we had to unplug it.
Yep. Yeah, so that's from it not having its first initial home set. So when you first plug the whole thing in, you want to tap the little button that says reset chains, and it's kind of like a dummy reset chains. So it has like some sort of place to start from 0. And then you go through the whole calibration process and you'll set your actual reset chains. It's a little bit wonky. And we're working on a detailed guide right now that should be done next week. That's going to walk through and make that whole calibration process way easier. Cause that's been a big thing that we've been working on the back end to try to make a lot easier to follow guide that will kind of explain all the lingo and steps and all the different things that you got to go through for sure.
So now with the laser engraver, is the setup process almost the same as well?
Yeah. So once you have it set, then you can just switch it out for the laser. So you can use either the laser or the router, whichever one you want to do. But the process of kind of calibrating the whole thing is going to be the same for both of them. So you won't have to do anything different or anything else. If you just put that laser module in there, if you guys got a laser module, then yeah, you just put that in there and take out your router, and then you're good. You don't have to change anything else. You just want to make sure you turn on the little laser widget that's there on the side.
Yeah, I just ordered one a couple weeks ago from you guys.
Awesome.
And it got in. So
yeah, that's
I'm
fantastic.
excited to get everything working. Period. So
yeah, we're here to help. So get everybody going. Hey, everybody, see everybody else is joining too. I'm Drew from MakerMade. We got Mike on here too, and this is pretty much just an open Q&A session. So if you guys have questions or concerns or feedback or anything, we can help you out and answer some questions and get you all going.
Yeah, he's on. It's Steve.
Oh, that's Steve. That's your bud.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Steve.
Can
Awesome,
unmute your
Yeah, it's a little wonky. It's like down in the bottom, kind of it's in like the left corner on your phone or on a computer, and you click the little unmute button. I think I can maybe say ask to unmute. Let's see. You should be unmuted now. Can you hear me?
No, still.
You might need to make sure that you have your right like speaker and stuff selected, but if you're on a phone, it should just do that automatically. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of work. Well, Steve's kind of getting that going. Does anybody else have any questions or anything that we can help you with?
I got the phone.
Nice.
You see it?
Yeah, like don't do it. It doesn't do anything.
Nothing. I can't even.
Yeah,
he got.
Yeah, he's trying. I guess he hasn't figured it out.
Or what are signs or Lauren? You guys got any questions? Anything we can help you with?
No, I just actually, this is the first time I've actually done this. So I'm usually working on Thursdays.
So what are signs?
I have no idea. I just needed a name.
Do you have the M2 set up, or are you getting
Yes, I
ready
do.
to set it up?
I have the M2 set up. I had it on a laptop. I bought it about 6 months ago.
Oh, cool.
My laptop ended up crashing. So I'm on the desktop now, and I'm trying to get the Arduino or whatever.
Arduino. Yes.
How do you get I don't remember the first couple steps of it. I've got it downloaded, but as far as the commands, because it's when I plug the USB in, it starts that high pitched whine, but it's not actually connecting. It's I'm getting an error from Windows.
So are you selecting the port like that says Arduino when you go to select?
Tell me that it says there's no port available.
Okay. What about the little refresh button? If you click the little refresh button, does that work?
There's nothing.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just have to check those first basic things. Some things to keep in mind with the USB is it hates dongles. So if you have like a multiple connection port, like if you have something that connects like 3 or 4 USBs to the same port, it won't get the signal through and it'll get really confused. So it has to be like directly connected all the way to one single USB port on your computer.
It is.
Is that the case?
Yes, sir. It is connected to one single port.
So that's good. So then when you go to open it is it only when you go to start a new machine to connect a new machine, or to when you're in your Makerverse workspace and then you click there in the left in that little widget to connect and open?
I mean, as soon as I plug it in, whether or not Makerverse is running or not, it starts the high pitched whine.
Okay, so it's detecting something,
Yes.
which is good. So then it's just when you're in Makerverse, it's just not. Are you starting a new machine and then telling it to connect to it, or
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it in like when you're creating your workspace and then you choose M2 and then you click there on the bottom where it's like what kind of connect to your M2 or whatever, like that little bottom box, that's what's not connecting?
Yes, sir. It says no
Okay.
ports available. And when I hit the recycle or refresh button, it does nothing.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So, so that's good. That means everything sounds like it's plugged in. So the next thing to check is that there aren't any other programs that are messing with Makerverse. So other stuff that use the ports. So if Arduino is open on your computer at the same time as Makerverse is, or a 3D printing slicing application like Cura or some other different types of programs that use USB ports, you want to make sure that all of those are shut off.
Lightburn too. Lightburn also does that too.
Lightburn, yeah.
The only thing I've got going is
okay.
I got a USB mouse and I am connecting to the internet through my cell phone.
So it sounds like that could be something, and you said it has the high pitched whine. Do you see the lights blinking? Like here, let me, if I turn this.
Yes, the lights are coming on the machine or on the little controller.
Let's see if there's a box that's disconnected for me. I'll have to like point at it here. Let me just point this camera up a little so you can see it. There we go. So on the side that the USB plugs into, so like right here,
Yes,
do
sir.
you see any green lights inside of there?
I guess the lights are on.
It is on. So you do see
Yes,
some green.
they are.
What version of Makerverse are you using?
The one I downloaded, just
Okay.
recently downloaded it this morning.
So it's like, yeah, the newest one. Okay. So it could be, what type of Windows are you on? Are you on Windows 10 or Windows?
It's 10.
It's 10. Okay. So sometimes there's a weird Windows driver that's missing that it needs. And I believe installing Arduino would get it for you. I don't remember the exact name of the driver off the top of my head, but I've heard it a couple months ago. There was a customer that had this problem, and there was a missing driver that Windows needed, and it was in Arduino. Like it was having trouble actually just recognizing that it was an Arduino board. Mike, do you remember what that driver could be?
The SAM32, but on the Arduino.
Yeah, is it the
I think
just to help
so.
to recognize the board?
Is there a way you can let him? Can he show us? Are you on the computer that has Makerverse on it and the Arduino?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is there a way, Drew? Is there a way you can let him share the screen?
I'll try to figure it out here in a second.
I can.
I'm not
say,
I'm not very computer literate, so.
Sweet phone, right? You got going there. So if you click on the little dots next to your name, you can say share screen, or if you can take kind of a screenshot or something like that of what's going on.
All right.
I believe it's in Arduino, and going through the process of installing Arduino, then
It's
that
gonna
should
pop
be set
up something about a library. I think the library pops up if it's missing. It might be missing a drive, but the driver.
So it'll be the same process that you would go through to flash the board. You install those different drivers. It's like Sanguino drivers that it needs to make sure that it has all the ones for the AVR board that it uses. So, and there's a video for that we've got that will kind of walk you through all those steps that you would do to install it. And I can look that video up right now, and then you can follow it. And then you can just download Arduino, but you don't have to flash the firmware again. You just want to go through those steps of getting Arduino installed, and then that should connect to you. So let me go ahead and go to our YouTube right now and see if I can find it.
I'm actually not being able to, when I hit the little dots on my name, all I get is a mute audio, start video, virtual background, video filter, and pin.
Okay. I can share my screen.
Oh,
Yeah, I
there
guess
it is.
I don't
There's
have
a
one
share
for
screen.
here. I got all participants
There it
sharing.
goes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Let me find this Arduino here. Yeah, totally. Get logged into, I guess, MakerMade account here.
Who's that screen that we're seeing right there? Is that yours, Drew?
That is what our signs. There we go. Yep, that's his screen.
You can call me Jason. That's fine.
Jason. Hey, Jason.
All right, Jason, do me a favor and lower down the Makerverse.
Lower down.
Yeah. And open up Arduino.
Arduino is still under.
No, I don't want to do that.
I ended up having to go through here to get it to open. I don't remember what was that.
Yeah, so down there where it says choose port,
Yes, sir.
that's what you want to click on.
Right, but it's coming up, no port available.
Yeah, so it's not reading the drive. So you have to like bring that down and open up Arduino.
Yeah.
Like minimize Makerverse.
I'm
then
not
open
seeing
up-
Arduino on there. No, that's not what I want. When I go to the start menu, Arduino's not coming up. Unless it's under some other name.
It should be under Arduino IDE.
There you go. This video is a little old. I found it. Hey. Hey. You hear me talking?
Hey.
One second, I gotta post this link for him. All right, there we go. So there's the YouTube to getting everything launched and for Arduino. So that over there in the side, if you click on that, it'll walk you through where to get Arduino and then the steps to install the board that you need for the M2. You shouldn't have to reflash it. I don't, because you were using it before, so you shouldn't have to reflash it.
But not on this computer, though. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
It shouldn't. Yeah, so all the settings that you kept on your old computer, once you can get it to connect, the M2 remembers them all. So you just say, when it first opens up, it'll be like, is this a new machine? You just say no. And then when you say no, it has all the settings and it remembers them all that you already did. So you don't have to go through that calibration process and all that kind of stuff. You just want to do, like an edge calibration or something when you put a new material on there. But you won't have to go through, resetting the chains and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, guys, thank you.
And I would try that, yeah, and see if that works. And then you can reach out to us. So support at MakerMade. And then if that doesn't work, then we'll give you some new stuff to try. Sometimes those USB port cords can go bad. So that could be it too. Like maybe it's gotten kinked or something like that. And they can
Well,
go bad.
it did go bad. I'm using a different one, but this one's been working fine.
You are using a different
up.
That's good. Yeah, that's good to know then too. Because yeah, if we need to send you that, we can get you going with it. And then, I mean, we may end up having to reflash the firmware just to get it to work, but it should be connecting. It could be also your firewall. That's something else that I'm thinking of. It could be your computer's firewall blocking it because it's like an external connection. So that's something to check too in like Windows Defender and make sure that your firewall is like allowing incoming connections because it might be blocking it. And that could be it too. But we can help you kind of go through some more step-by-step stuff.
Yeah, just send us a message to support at makermade.com.
Will do, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Good luck.
Steve, no luck, Steve.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, I
you
got
did-
it up and running now.
hey, there you go. Awesome. So how's it going? Yeah, what can we help with?
All right, we're just trying to get it calibrated up and running. We're in sync with the machine. You know, it's just right now. What would our next step be is to go to create workspace?
So did you get it calibrated, or is this the first
No.
time you're plugging it in? Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll go to create workspace, and then you're going to choose for your M2, you'll choose like standard 18-inch sled, and then your that it's an M2, and then connect to the board, and then it should tell you that it's the same firmware and stuff, and then you can rename it if you want, and then you just say create workspace.
Okay. And and then the next step is calibrating.
Yes, but before you click calibrate, you want to click in the top right corner that says reset chains. You see that little blue button?
Yep.
So click that, and that sets a dummy reset chains to go through that calibration process. That'll make it way easier. And that runaway that Tony was talking about earlier, where it was just like going and not stopping, that was because that reset change wasn't started and clicked right away at the beginning. So once that's clicked, now go calibrate, and then you can go through those slides. So the big things that you want to check, you want to make sure that you weigh your sled, and then you'll have to convert that to newtons, which I know is kind of wonky, but that newtons is what all the programming and everything uses. So you can just Google that. So when you weigh it in pounds, you can just Google it for newtons, and that'll help you get some good accuracy. And then your stock, that's just the measurement of your 4x8. So just your exact 4x8, and then kind of mark the exact center of it. And then your motor offset and your motor distance, those are the measurements that you'll get from between your motors, from exactly the 12 o'clock between each one of them. And then from the sprocket itself to the top of your board that you measured. So that's that little measurement right there too. So that's the motor. So motor distance is between, and then offset is up and down.
Okay, so in sled weight, that's probably what. Well, it seems like it converted already.
It won't convert. It is in newtons. So
okay.
yeah, so it the like 96 or something like that is like
that's you got 97.9.
Yeah, so that's like it's like a close estimation is probably what it is, but to help it to be more accurate, it helps to measure your actual weight. And then just type in, pounds to force newtons into Google, and it'll do it for you right away. And then put that value, the whole value in there, and then that will help too.
Yeah.
And what about the rotation disc radius?
You don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah.
Oh,
just
That's
the
all factored. That's all factored.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And then okay, the sled, none of this changes.
The sled won't change because your sled is
Okay.
standard with your M2. So if you had a different setup, like a Maslow, or some people have square sleds and stuff like that, you would put those different values in there.
Okay. And then what about the test Z-axis as I'm going through that?
You can skip that one too.
Okay.
It came calibrated with the Z-axis already, so you can skip that one as well.
And then
That's if you just have problems down the line, you can go back and recalibrate that.
okay.
Yeah.
And then any other thing I gotta, because it says the next one would be chains previously calibrated.
So you're going to calibrate new chains, and that's going to be the most trickiest part of this whole process. And what I was talking about earlier too is we've been working on a robust calibration guide that we're planning on having done next week. For no matter what your frame is, it will walk you through step by step with screenshots and pictures of your frame and everything on what you need to do to walk through all those steps to kind of make that a lot more clear, because it's really confusing sometimes to kind of figure out what those terminology mean, that it's using, and what is a force newton and why do I need to know what that is, and some stuff like that. So we're working on making that a lot more clear and easier to understand, and that's coming out next week too. So the big thing about the chain measurement, which is kind of the biggest part of the calibration guide, is to make sure that your chains are exactly the same length for your sled. So it's going to kind of walk you through the steps to make sure that your sled is the exact same length of your chain between your motor and where it connects to your sled itself. And those links are exactly the same, because if they're not the same, then that's going to cause problems with your calibration, and you'll have trouble getting it, under like an inch of accuracy.
Okay,
because it'll
And-
always just be off or like skewed, like it might cut at an angle or something like that. So it'll be like kind of skewed around or something. So kind of like be easier to walk through those different steps.
okay. And then the next one being edge, you would just kind of set your edges in terms of one would be negative on one side, one would be positive on the other.
Not quite. So edge calibration is the last thing that it'll do. And what that does is the positive and negative is if it's running off of the sled itself. So if the sled is over the edge, then it's a negative value from the tip of the sled to the actual edge of your material. And then if it's inside, then it's a positive value from the inside of your sled to the edge of your material. So it's kind of that like middle area. And you're going to click move on each one of those. So it's going to move to each one of the corners and then the top, middle, and the bottom middle. And then you're going to input those values. You're going to measure them and then just write those in those little text boxes all the way around.
Okay.
And then when you've gone all the way around all those 6 different spots, then the calibrate button will show up and then you'll tap calibrate. And then what that will do is kind of set your whole frame together to initialize your calibrated chains with your material that you're cutting with. So then the M2 knows where it is on your place in your material. And
Okay,
then
so that's for the new material, like if we're gonna do a cut, this edge.
exactly.
That,
Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't got nothing to do with calibration or nothing. That's just when we're gonna be working.
Yeah, it's like it's like calibrating it with the material.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's like, so the chains calibration is calibrating the M2 and the weight and the motor offset and the distance between them. That's all calibrating the M2. And then the edge calibration and then the stock tab, those 2 tabs, that's calibrating for your material. So when you're putting that in, so it's like the exact center of your material and the exact dimensions of it. Because some 4x8 is never exactly 4x8 feet. So when you got those dimensions in there, and then your edge calibration will tell the M2 where it is on your material. And then when you're in Makerverse and you say, okay, I want to cut, in the bottom left corner, well, then you can move the sled to the bottom left corner and it'll be pretty close to where it's supposed to be in that bottom left corner.
Okay.
Does that make
And
sense?
then- yes, absolutely. And then precision.
Ignore that one.
Okay.
Skip that one.
Great. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you don't need to do that. I don't do precision calibration.
It tells you as soon as you finish calibration, it'll tell you it's optional.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to do it.
Mike and Lauren might do precision sometimes. I don't know how.
I don't.
Lauren, do you do precision?
It depends on like how well you get your edge, but I have done precision the last 2 because I'm chasing like the 0.5 millimeter accuracy.
Yeah.
So that's me. But when you're chasing that, like there's a couple of things to consider. So when you put your stock on your machine, did you get it, like you need to have it squared up within easily less than a 16th. If you're off by more than a 16th, now you're going to get into millimeters of difference as it travels left to right. You know what I'm saying? Or right to left, either way. So that has to be very squared. I don't know if Drew can point to him as I'm saying him. I can see he was about to point to him.
I know
So that's
you probably
stock.
can't see this with the camera, but here, if I switch my camera, maybe, here, let me change my camera. So in the middle of this, let's see if this is a little bit closer. No, you still can't see it. So there's a little mark right here for the exact center of our material. And you want to line that up with the exact center of your frame. When you're
Right. So it's like all those things, the better your frame and the more square your frame and setup is. So for example, when I first did mine, I could not figure out for the life of me why I couldn't get below like 3 millimeters accuracy. Because I put everything on. I knew it was dead center, but when I attached the stock, all I did is taped a level to the top, right? Well, as you know, a level has an error of about a 1/2 inch to an inch.
Mhm.
But as soon as I got it lined up, now I'm sitting at, I mean, it's not quite a 1/2 inch or a 1/2 millimeter. It's about 3/4 millimeter.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, so it really gets that. And the other one, when I really tightened it up, now I know Casey isn't on here, but you really got to center up the bit. The problem you run into is at the end of the day, the And I'm sorry, Drew, I'm not trying to talk crap about the M2, but
do it.
the sled that you have, mine was, it works fine. Like, I'm not complaining by any means, but it looked like it didn't come off the best machine because it actually had a lot of scuff marks on it and it wasn't perfectly round. So it's just one of those things like to consider. If you get a good sled and it looks like it's perfect, you're probably going to do well, because a lot of people do fine with the edge. I didn't have that kind of luck. When I pulled mine out, like some of the paint was peeled off and the sticker was jacked up. I didn't really care because I use and abuse my machine as much as I can. But yeah, so I installed a centering jig, which I know you probably don't know Casey because he's not on here, but he has a centering jig, a 3D printed centering jig that'll lock your bit in the dead center of the sled, and then you tighten down all the bolts. Because if it's not dead center as it moves across the board, right, because it's on a ring, you've probably seen it'll shift like a little bit, right? So that can play into it. Now, when you do the precision, if you decide to do the precision, I know I'm kind of going on a rant here. If you decide to do a precision, do an easy measurement. So for me, I know 25 millimeter or 25.4 is the equivalent millimeters to an inch, right? So the quick math, I did 250.4, 254 millimeters to do 10 inches. Then I set up a square, 10 inches, and did everything like that so that it would go around and make the dots. That's how I confirmed dead center. Because if you do 10 millimeters, or if you don't have a ruler or anything like that, it was just kind of playing that game of exactly what it's off. But that was when I first started. Now I have all the equipment with multiple metric type squares and things like that to make life easier. But at the beginning, I didn't have all that stuff.
Yeah, and in getting started, it depends a lot on what type of stuff you want to cut out. So I know like Lauren cuts out a lot of really detailed stuff that is like very accurate in the dimensions that you need to get. But when you go through the edge calibration, we recommend under 6 millimeters, and you can start cutting stuff. So that's 1/4 of an inch across the whole thing. So it would slant a little bit or be off a little bit of variance across the entire 4 foot by 8 foot space. So for doing like large signs and things that you're not worried about press fitting, or something that doesn't have to be absolutely the exact measurement that you're going to lock together, then under 1/4 of an inch, you should be good with that. But then if you want to get down and go under 3 millimeters, so like mine at home is like 3.2 is what mine is set in my shop. And that's what I cut most of my stuff out on, because it's like press fit furniture is going to be, you still have to do some sanding to kind of like fit it together and stuff, kind of depending on what you want to make. But the more times that you go through calibration and do things like precision calibration and making sure that your bit's in the center, and there's all these different variables that you can quickly just get like lost trying to make it exactly calibrated, when a lot of the stuff that you're going to be able to cut out, you won't need to get down to that level. And as you get more comfortable with it, more experience with it, then you can absolutely tune your machine down to be able to cut in under a millimeter and do some of those different types of things. But because the space is so large, you can immediately start cutting stuff out on plywood once you get within like 1/4 of an inch.
All right, Tone, you wanted them to see the board, and you had questions or something?
Steve, what are you cutting out with your machine? What are you planning on cutting out with it?
Right, I'm gonna be doing some furniture. Okay. I want to make like benches and stuff.
So depending on the type of furniture, right? Because if you're doing like rough cut furniture that ain't got to be like high grade quality, yeah, you're not gonna have a problem. Where the machine excels is any kind of curves, right? Does curves great. Where it struggles is straight lines. Now, with that in mind, if you're doing like I do a lot of circles, because that was my part of my business, was doing a lot of circles. If you don't have that thing calibrated tightly, like you're not going to get good circles. You're going to get a lot of great ovals, though.
Yeah, that looks great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that basically check calibration by doing circles. That would be.
So the ideal that I was huge on circles, right? But the one that works best, the absolute best, it just takes a little longer, is a circle inside of a square with all the edges just touching. That makes sense?
Yep.
And it takes a little bit longer. And the cheapest way to do it is to keep a cheap piece of like foam. Like you can buy the insulation foam, you know what I'm talking about? The hard, it's like a harder foam. I just keep one in my shop when you're doing that cut real quick. Slides just fine across it, doesn't tear up the bit. And yeah, it's just one way. I just throw it in there. Don't even have to cut all the way through it because I can measure to the, to the cut.
Yeah, so you can just do one
Kinda my
pass.
method. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're going
And
across.
then, but yeah, for the most part, like I cut a lot of names, and I mean, you name it. And for the most part, like you would never know, even if I had 6 millimeters or 9 millimeters off. And in fact, when I first built mine in my dad's garage, because I was out visiting him when I got it, I didn't even calibrate it. I was like, screw it, I want to see this running run, and immediately started cutting some stuff, and it still cut just fine. But I cut an 18-inch circle, and it cut like 17 3/4 by 18 and an eighth, I think. It was something like that. So it wasn't even that far off with zero. Like I'm talking, I plugged it in and just ran it. It was just like, I'm just going to make this thing go.
And how did it feel? How did it feel when you ran and you cut something? Like, even though it was off, you were like, it's awesome.
But
right?
Yeah, no, there's something about like, even now, like me and Mike, have talked, and we have like some designs and stuff. Trust me, I used to cut out stuff with a jigsaw or a scroll saw, and man, the effort it took to cut certain things for customers. Like, for example, I had a friend that wanted a custom dinosaur shape with their son's name on it for the back of her, when she had a baby. She wanted it up on the wall, whatever you call it. I think I spent like 3 hours cutting that thing out, cleaning it up, all that stuff. And now I can cut it out in about 10 minutes. So now, just so you're understanding, when you're running the machine, the sweet spot I have found is at about 35 inches per minute. A lot of people go a lot slower. I run 35, and this is even with an 1/8 inch bit, 35 inches per minute at an 1/8 inch pass, 1/8 inch bit. Now, everybody goes against that. They're like half the thickness of the bit. I hear you, but that's for a standard CNC that's running upwards of 300 or plus inches per minute. I used to run really expensive bits. I don't even do that anymore. If I'm doing like a really high-end project with a really hard wood, yes, I have my expensive bits I'll pull out. But for the most part, I'm running cheap bits off of Amazon. And don't be like me. For the first 6 months I had this thing, I was burning through bits like crazy, because most customers
What's your
want a lot of cool stuff, but they don't know what kind of wood is. And the best wood, especially if you want a fast cleanup, is MDF. But MDF may as well be sandpaper to a bit. So don't run your spiral bits. It's a waste of time. Run straight bits. And if I can share the screen, I don't know if Drew can make me. I can pull up Amazon and stuff.
Yeah,
and
I was
can
just going to ask you what bits you get. Do you get R
I
bits?
shared them with. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can share the screen. Let me go to Amazon.
I don't know. Do you get are R bits your expensive bits?
So I do. You do have ones that. No, unfortunately, that's the.
Yeah, no,
your bits are the middle, actually. The expensive bits, if you go to like Tools Today.
Yeah.
Amana bits, like really high grade. And it's worth having a couple in your
There's like a
inventory.
90. Wasn't there one like a $90 one?
Oh yeah, like I have a half inch. It was like $120.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong, that sucker will hog some wood, but I only use it when I know, like, hey, I have a long project. There's a lot of guys that come on and be
you can
like,
change
yeah,
the blades on those, right?
Do what, Mike?
You can change the blade on those.
Yeah, some of them. Some of them are they can be replaceable. It's just it's a mix. But I also have a bit problem. Like, women collect shoes, I collect router bits. I don't know. It's just a problem for me. But I saw Steve. I saw you was running a rigid router, right?
Yes.
Let me find.
And what's the speed supposed to be set at on these guys, or does it vary depending on the wood and all that?
It does vary. Like 35 to 40, you're probably going to be all right. Yeah, and you can kind of experiment with that on how fast you want to run it. How are you going to generate your G code? Have you gotten to that part yet?
No.
Okay. So there's a lot of options there too. I mean, literally, it's just like drinking from the fire hose right now of figuring everything out. So you can use to start as like a beginner. Easel is a really good place to just like start. but it's kind of clunky, and they have like a paid version that is a bunch of stuff that's locked down. Fusion 360 is a more advanced one, but you have to know what all of the settings are to kind of get them all together for your machine and to kind of plug them all in on exactly how you want your G code to be created. And then there's some other ones online too. It's like Maker. Those are the two that I normally use. So Mike, what's that other one called? Like
Carbide Create.
Carbide Create has one. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Lauren, which one do you normally use for G code?
It depends on what I'm cutting. If I know I'm cutting a basic item, almost always go to Easel because it's very, very fast at creating it. If I'm doing an intricate cut, I go to Carbide Create because it gives me a way more options, and especially if I'm doing a V groove cut.
Is that free?
Or a V-bit cut. Do what, Drew? I'm
Is
sorry.
it free? Is Carbide Create free?
Yep.
Okay.
It's just not as user friendly as Easel. Easel tends to create a little bit better of a cutting path. And the way that if you compare the G code side by side, you'll see why. The way it inputs, like it does better job of slowing down the machine as it comes into a corner. Carbide Create does, but it doesn't as smoothly. So,
Good enough.
but yeah, I don't know if you can see my screen or if y'all can see it.
Yeah, we can see.
This collet here, if you're running the rigid router, cannot stress enough, this collet is worth the $12. Like, so much worth it. The reason being is the rigid comes with a 1/2 inch collet, right? And then a 1/4 inch insert. So you're going to insert the 1/4 inch, and the one that I talked to Patrick about actually putting this in the inventory because this thing is money.
Yeah.
Because it reduces the number of collets you have to put into any of the routers. Any kit you buy, you don't want to stack more than 2 collets at a time. Because then you get bit slippage and all kinds of issues like that. This one, I put it in, it works like a champ. Haven't had any slippage. You can buy any 1/8 inch bit, and a Manitool actually, I mean, so you can see the price ain't horrible. A Manitool makes them for 3/8 inch bits. Like you can buy the whole list and get into some interesting bits. And I can even, I don't know if you can see that, Steve, if you want to take like a screenshot of that.
Yep. I already got
Just copy. Lauren, why don't you do this? Copy the link and then just paste it in the
Oh,
chat.
that's true. Look at Mike being way too smart.
There we go.
This is why I call him whenever I realize like my machine ain't working. And then I'll show you another.
Yeah, that's great.
thing.
We're gonna look into reselling that for sure. Because we only have the little small one, so
right. And I bought those and
nice
used
to have
them.
like a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch, but we need a 1/2 inch to 1/8 inch.
So I used to use that when I had them before I even got a CNC. I used to use them. But to put it in perspective, like you can see on my screen right now, go in and pick any of these. Like you see, that's $14 for 10 bits. Like as long as it cuts deeper than what you're like, I think these probably have a 1/2 inch. Like it'll work just fine. Granted, they won't last as long as a higher grade bit, but if you're cutting a lot, you're saving money in the end. Because I was spending, especially if you're just tearing through plywood. Because unlike hardwoods, plywood has a ton of glue in it, and it's just like MDF. It just burns through your bits.
What bits do you use for MDF? What do you recommend for
Just a straight bit. Let me see if I can find
MDF?
1/8 inch.
What do you use?
I can find so I'll end up using like these right here, $19. I don't know if you can see it, or $21.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. And most of my material, I was cutting a lot of 3/4. I still do a lot of 3/4. So I have my longer bits that I bought for that. But most of the customers only want 1/2 inch material. And so I went back and bought a whole bunch of these. I just have them lined up next to my machine. I'll run them for, about a month, swap them, throw them in the trash and grab a new one. But at the end of the day, I'm spending $3 to $4 per bit versus $30 or $40 per bit.
Yeah.
Or even $20. like I said, you can get a lot nicer ones. You can go to Tools Today and get nicer ones, and I recommend them, especially if you're getting like a 16th inch bit. It's real thin. The cheap ones will break so fast.
Yeah.
Tested them, they break. They're just too brittle. But yeah, and I'm talking. I've run these for 3 weekends in a row. Just hogging material, making ornaments and stuff. And at this rate, yeah, I have not broken a single one, and I'm still running on the first 2 bits. Like I didn't even change them out. I can see they're dulling, so this next weekend I will be changing them out. But at the end of last weekend, they were still going pretty good. And you'll hear it in your router as you start to pull it too fast, and the bit starts to dull. You'll hear that kind of a pitch, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You'll hear it, and yeah, just change it out. And you'll see it. You'll see when it starts to dull because your cuts won't be as smooth.
Yeah, it'll tear them up.
Yeah, and I mean it's just kind of paying attention to the machine, playing with it, seeing what you get. Like I said, 90% of the people I talk to, they're running their machine at like 15 inches per minute. I was just like, hey, let me see what happens if I turn it up. Now, at one point, I was running mine at 60 inches per minute just to see what it would do, and it'll do it, but not accurately.
Yeah.
And what's the longest bit you've used? The deepest you've cut?
I have cut material up to 1.5 inches. Doing foam and things like that. Now, 1.5 inches, I did 3/4 inch passes. Not a problem. The only issue we have right now in the software is I had to go back a couple of versions because when you're cutting material that deep, the current Makerverse software doesn't allow you to easily zero out the Z-axis, the machine Z-axis.
Really? Okay.
So,
That's
yeah,
good.
you have to kind of reset everything. So if you're going from a 1/2 inch material, like when you raise it up, it'll hit your soft limits, right?
Mhm.
And I understand you can turn them off. But as you've seen, there's been more than a few people on the Facebook page recently that have had to replace their rings, and I'm not trying to do that. So it's just a consideration, but you can always literally go right back into Makerverse, go back like 3 versions and download a little older one. I'm okay with it saying, hey, you don't have the latest Makerverse. I don't care. It runs perfectly fine.
Lauren, have you run 1.5 inch wood, like 2x4 stock?
I have actually ran a 2-inch stock of, I got a good deal on some, what do you call it? Butcher block. And I cut out some stuff with butcher block. So cut it down to different sizes and cut out cutting boards and all kinds of stuff with it. For epoxy work.
How thick are you trying to cut, Dave?
No, I was just considering if I need to cut a 2x4 or 2x6, something like that. Those are 1.5 inches, and I didn't know whether 1.5 inches was only something for wood, or you could do or foam, but you could do wood as well.
It's all about your passes. So
Yeah,
for me, and I did a whole bunch of tests to figure out the fastest, like true fastest time to cut, and I just kept it at a circle, right? So just doing a standard circle, it was like 18-inch circle at slow speeds with deep passes versus shallow passes at higher speeds. And the overwhelming leader was shallow passes at higher speeds. So everything I do, like everybody kind of has their own way of saving files. Everything I do, I cut at 35 inches per minute because I found that's the sweet spot with really a lot of accuracy. And even when the bit starts to dull, still stays pretty accurate. 35 inches per minute at about an 1/8 inch pass. Very little lag, hardly any pull, any of that. I don't recommend going much over 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes I'll bump it a little bit because, as you know, some plywood is a little thicker than others or things like that. And most of the time at a 1/2 inch, I'm doing 4 passes to cut out a 1/2 inch.
One thing too to keep in mind if you're going to be cutting bigger stuff is you might have to move your whole router up and down inside of the mount itself. So you might have to push it all the way down to give you that, and so it doesn't hit those soft limits too. So that's something to keep in mind is as you're moving it around, you can just move it around inside of your clamp, inside of your router clamp, and just by loosening it a little bit and then pushing it down or pulling it up.
Yeah, I just got some new these bits right here. Let me see if you can see them. They're pretty long. I'm gonna do some testing. I don't know if you can see my camera. Can you see my camera?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
These are deep.
That's a, that's like a 3-incher, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the size of your
3-incher.
hand. Yeah.
No, I have some of those. They are
Right.
beastly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Steve, do you mind going over to your setup you got and pointing it at your router from the top?
Lauren, I guess I can't stop you from screen sharing. Can you stop? Screen
Oh,
sharing
I'm sorry. Hang
first?
on. I mean, that's silly.
Thought I could do that, but I guess I can't. That should be a feature where I can just click on it.
How do I?
Thanks.
Maybe I just. For some reason, is it not no longer sharing it?
Yeah, it's no longer sharing. Yeah.
All right, Steve, if you go to the side, I just saw what he's talking about. So you go to the side. So
Yeah.
look how far down into your machine, your machine, your router is pushed.
Yep.
You see that? You need to lower your Z-axis as low as possible and raise that router all the way up to that little nipple that sticks out. If you keep it where it sits, based just upon, balancing a broom on your hand, it'll cause that bit and the whole system to flex. So what you want to do, like I said, lower that Z-axis and raise that router as high as you can all the way up to that nipple, and it'll remove that problem.
You talking about right here? This
Yeah,
and
so
here?
I kind of have it on.
Yeah, so go ahead and like loosen those two nuts or
I don't lose.
not the
But,
nuts, the bolts.
Yeah, for the router.
Six bolts.
Here we go. We got an example with a coffee cup and a router clamp. So have it like right at the end of it. So like right at the end. So your bit and stuff is like right here.
Yeah, essentially.
So it's like holding on to where it is, because if it was holding on to this one, then it's going to be like wobbling as it's cut. So you want to have it on the top part.
Now rigid has that little nipple, so you got to really just. I basically shove it in, twist it a little bit, and then pull it out till it taps the nipple, and then clamp it down.
I want to jump in for a minute with some tool chain questions. I'm trying to generate tool paths with Easel, and I'm using the free version of Easel. And when I tell it that the workpiece is 4x8, it says I need to use tiling. And I just want to check, in order to get out of that issue, I gather I need to connect it to the machine and create a new machine. Is that correct?
No, so when it says tiling, you have to click like advanced options, and then you'll go down and say like no tiling, don't tile it. Because what it's thinking is that you have a small, a more regular desktop CNC machine. So it's thinking that you want to do this big thing in a whole bunch of small pieces. So, and I believe it's in that same menu in the advanced options, you just say don't tile. Or,
Yeah, but when I say don't tile, then it won't let me create a tool path.
Yeah. So here's your issue, right? Is you're using free.
That's
So
right.
Easel will let you go larger, but a lot of times it doesn't want to let you use the larger. Now you can adjust your stock size, and it may. I can't actually. I wonder if I can log into.
I didn't know if I had to create a new machine, and it says it wants to connect to my machine, and I hadn't gone through all of that.
You shouldn't need
I was preparing to do that.
Yeah, here, let me
y'all just need to get a Vectric Aspire or Vectric desktop.
Yeah, we can see. Okay, so we'll make this really big.
Let's see if I can log in.
Hey, David, did you change your material size?
I did, and that's when it started telling me I needed to do tiling, and tiling was not in the free version. So I said no tiling, and then all of a sudden the options for creating a tool path disappeared.
Here we go. Let's see if I can share my screen again. All right. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So right up here, did you put in 96 by 48?
Yes, I did.
And then it still said tiling?
I'm sorry, what, you were showing 96 by 48 as the material size?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and it thinks I've got a machine that supports, I don't know, 8-inch by 12-inch or something.
Yeah, here, I'm typing it in right now too. Let's see if I can get it to Oh, so it's in that same thing. So here, I'll show you. I'm going to kick you out. So
Yeah.
right here, when you do your material, there's the enable tiling.
Yes,
Right
I
here.
clicked on that.
And you said no?
I said no. And like I say, at that point, it appeared that I could not create tool paths.
So when you go into machine, you click machine. What type of machine did you select?
I didn't do anything with the machine. It got whatever the default was, which is a V carve or something.
Oh, that's so go into machine and choose Maslow.
Okay, didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, can you click that machine there, Drew?
Yeah, my computer's thinking. There we go.
And then go into
Or
'cause I actually have mine set up.
yeah, set up the machine.
Other. Yeah.
It wants me to. I don't want to download.
Yeah,
it.
but usually you can set up a Maslow, and mine lets me cut all the way to 48 by. Yeah.
Let's see if it lets me do this. I just do mine as the generic. So I didn't know that either. It has Maslow as one of the ones you can choose.
It actually, I think that you choose GBRL, like Gerbil or whatever.
Verbal?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because so I click as this is kind of installing here. I close. Oh, come on now. Refresh it since I installed that. Get it loaded up. There we go. Well, nope, it went away. Come on. All right, there we go. Share screen. So I downloaded that driver and now it's letting me do it. So other right here, Gerbil. And then Maslow.
And that's under set up a new machine?
Yeah. I didn't know this was in here either. Lauren, you just taught me something new about Easel. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Easel is a powerful machine or
Yeah.
a powerful software. The real issue is Mike's not kidding. Like Vectric is an impressive, but you're gonna pay a lot for Vectric. You can do the exact same thing in Carbide Create, but it's just like anything else. Yeah.
All right, so when I select set up a new machine, it wants to load an Easel driver.
Yeah, that's what I had to do too.
Okay, so that doesn't mean I have to connect it to my machine, or do I?
No,
I didn't know- no, you
Easel
can-
actually doesn't connect to
Yeah.
Maslow. It doesn't work with the Maslow.
I don't want to do that. Can you skip this? This part right here?
Yes, I usually just skipped it and I hit cancel, I think.
It's not letting me go through. Confirm.
Okay, so you've already loaded the driver that they're talking about?
Yes, I just did that a second ago. When
Okay.
it showed mine like install, I just installed that. And then I went back in here and it let me do it.
Okay. All right, well, I was concerned, the Mac that I'm working on right now, it's probably what I'll use to design stuff, but it is not a portable thing. It's got all kinds of peripherals hanging off of it. And I don't want
I don't know why it's
Yeah, it's not letting me.
I'm not at home with my machine. I'm at, obviously at work. I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. Because mine did not do that. Mine offered me the option to connect to the machine. I just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's forcing me to do it. I'm not sure. But what I do is go over here to go back to the project here and just export the G code.
Oh yeah, the machine.
And then just say
General
like for
settings,
third
export
party,
down.
like Xcode as gerbil G code for a third party machine. Yeah. Anyway, Steve and Tony, as y'all can tell, there's a it's a rabbit hole of stuff to dig into on how you want to make your projects and how you want to go about it. So yeah, we're here every Thursday for help. And as we mentioned too, you can reach out to us at support at MakerMade, also in the owners group and in our forum too. You can go on there and get help in both those places as well. So the owners group on Facebook. And what I'd recommend for the quickest help, because there's so many people in there that are doing awesome stuff and they're much faster at responding than we can be sometimes. So if you're having something going on in there, or if you want to do some advanced stuff, that's definitely a place that I'd recommend to check out. If you all have Facebook.
Cool.
All right, one quick more question about this little screen that I'm at right now,
Yes.
like the chain ones. Okay, this
That's
is just, all
Calibrating.
right. So what would I do on this one?
So the big thing that you're trying to do in Calibrate Change is to get the sprockets of the motors, and let's see if I can even. So the it's gonna cancel it here. So the sprocket up here. So the sprockets of these, you want to have. See how I have this red line painted on here?
Yep.
So you're trying to get these at 12 o'clock on each end. So using the diagonal corner movements on the opposite corners, by small increments, you want to get each one of these at exactly 12 o'clock on each side. And then once you have those at exactly 12 o'clock, that's when you're going to measure your chain and hook your chain on there to make sure that the length connects with the cotter pin in the middle right here. So then your chains are exactly the same length. So each one of your motors are at 12 o'clock, and then they're aligned and connected together at the same point. And then you know that they're coming off of that in the exact same spot. So then you know where your sled is. And as I mentioned, that's something that Joel and I have been working on, and Mike's been helping with too, for that calibration guide. So we're going to have those images and screenshots and stuff like that next week. So that'll make a lot more sense next week to kind of go through that. But that's the most difficult part, is getting through that. And we have that written out though. If you send us a message of support, we've got it all written out in there, and we can send you those detailed instructions too.
Okay. Give it a shot and see what I can do, and then hopefully, we'll be up and running by next week.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, just get it to cutting, and then start cutting some stuff out and let us know if you need any help. And I'm sure you guys are gonna have a lot of fun with it, making some stuff.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet. Does anybody else have any more questions right before we go?
Hey, Steve, real quick, look at your screen. Let me give you a quick tip. This passed on to me by another maker. When it tells you to center the sprocket, you know what I'm talking about? Center a single tooth at the 12 o'clock.
Yes.
There's not a button that tells you to rotate individual sprockets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to not make sense with me showing. I don't know if you can look at your screen and I can show you.
Also, what are you talking about? It's when I just mentioned diagonal. That's when I just mentioned that. Here, let me just share my screen. I'll show you what I mean, and what Lauren's talking about too. And then I'll point to it while he's talking about it, because I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's how you move one sprocket at a time. This is the tip, because otherwise you're going to lose your mind. And I say this because everybody loses their mind doing it. There we go. Get it connected real quick. Oh, I've got Easel's trying to talk to it. Stop talking to it, Easel. There we go. There we go. Oops. Again, load it up, of course. Wants to load here. No. There we go. These buttons over here. These. Yeah. So here's the thing. So if you can point, so when you want to move a sprocket, it correlates to the top left moves the left sprocket, the top right moves the right sprocket, right? And now,
Okay.
if you want to move the opposite direction, you go diagonal.
Yeah.
The bottom right moves the left sprocket. The bottom left moves the right sprocket.
And another tip too is to take the chains completely off when you do this. So you can like take your whole sled and everything off and then take your chains off and then move your sprockets when your chains aren't on there, and it'll be way easier to get them on there.
Yes.
You can
That
use a
is how you
level
set it.
too. If you want to kind of hold a level up, then you can make sure that they're straight by trying to line up that bubble and that level. That can help too, to try to make sure it's exactly 90 degrees there. And then, yeah, draw like a line on there and then you'll see it. And then when you put your chains on, you'll know that your motors are at that exact point.
And I also want to add the 1 millimeter drop down.
Yeah, right here.
If you want to really micro adjust, you can click that and drop it down to 1/10 of a millimeter to move.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so like you can do larger increments, and then yeah, when you get down to those micro adjusting, like clicking over here and then doing the little small increments, it'll move it like where it's almost imperceptible that it's moving, and it'll shift. But one thing to keep in mind there, if you move, by larger increments, even the top left and top right will move the opposite motor by a tiny, tiny bit. So you might end up having to like get one of them set and then get the other one set and then going by these tiny micro adjustments, and then going back over here to the other one, just like he mentioned. So then you might have to go back and forth between the motors for a bit until they're both exactly at 12.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. That's a good tip.
Yeah. Don't rush the calibration, because that's everything in this machine. So if it takes you a day to do it or 2 days, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It's okay. It's worth it.
And that's part of the fun.
And
I think it's part of the
machine
fun.
already knows exactly what you put on it. You know what I mean? So if you need to tell it exactly, so if you have if you think, oh, it's 448.
Oh,
8
you
and a
cut
half
out.
or 49 and a quarter. No, there's no you have to actually have to put exactly what you want on the machine. That way the machine can know. So you can't just guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, try to measure and put the exact measurements in, without any guesstimations, for sure. All right, does anybody have any more questions?
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to get Easel to create a tool path and not having success. So
That didn't work.
it does not appear to have created the machine. Is still showing kind of a fraction of the workspace that I expected.
Okay, guys, thanks for all the help. I appreciate it.
You bet.
See you
Thanks a
next
lot.
week. Okay.
Hey,
All right, yeah,
David, what
you
is
guys-
your actual error?
Yeah, so
Well, I don't see something that says create a tool path, and when I click on carve, it says you haven't bought Easel Pro.
yeah, they've been changing. They want everybody to buy their subscription, so they've been updating stuff. But let me
So,
look and see here.
real
See if I can
quick.
replicate the issue, because I just did this.
You're saying you
while
created
ago,
an
last
tool
month.
path, or did you already put an image in there?
I have a design, I have a project, but when I
Okay.
click on project, it used to say create a tool path. It does not appear to say that now.
I guess I would have to see your screen, because I think what you've done is you created the tool path, but you don't tell Easel to carve. You go in and generate the G code.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've recently updated Easel since last time I used it, because some of this stuff is in different spots. Because I used it like last month and it was different. So
All right, so under that little arrow icon, no, this is G code import.
yeah, so when you click project and then under project, you can say download G code.
Yes.
Does it download? And then if you pull that into Makerverse, does that look like one solid part?
I have not gone through that. You're saying download? I thought that was download some G code file that I had somewhere else into Easel.
So it looks like they moved it. So that's where the new like download G code is.
Okay.
So here, when I could click on it and then I'm gonna say download G code and see if it says anything. Simulating tool paths. I made it real big, so let's see if it works.
All right, so this says, I'll save it as sample one.
And then yeah, let's throw this into Makerverse and let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
Upload program. Let's see if it works. .nc, that looks okay. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, so I'll share my screen with you so you can see it there, Dave. Screen.
Okay.
So yeah, I just made this real big, and then when I click machine now that I canceled earlier, the M2's sitting here now.
Right.
I just had to exit out of that. And then when I go to project here, that says download G code.
Okay, so that's creating a toolpath, or I mean, it's downloading what
That's
you've
creating the
already
toolpath,
created.
yeah. And then when you see it over here, this is the simulate, so you can see what it's going to look like over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I also wondered, I created something, and when I looked at the toolpath, it showed red lines on the project image. It had bits of the toolpath that went way off the board to the left and to the right, and I didn't know of any way to inspect what was going on.
Inside of Easel or inside?
Yes, inside of Easel, it showed this red toolpath, and it told me it'd take, I don't know, 11 hours to cut out 4 circles or something. And when I looked at the toolpath, the red path went way over to the left and way over to the right, and I didn't know whether there was some kind of way to inspect that. It looked like I had created some feature that was way off the board, and it took an hour to get over there.
Sometimes little tiny things, like if you're getting an SVG from online or something, can be over here when you can barely even see them, and you might have to like zoom all the way in to be able to see them. So it's had like one of these toolpath lines, which is going all the way over here.
It was off the board by a lot, like. And I guess I could have zoomed out to see whether there was something way off the board. I didn't think of that.
And this is set to where you have 0 over here. So if your material is set though at like, 96 by 48, and then your model is either right here, or if you want to center it in to where it goes from the center of 0, then it'd be right here in the middle.
Right.
So if you wanted it to be, right in the center of your build area, but it's going to kind of look like this, so you wouldn't be able to see it very well.
Right.
So was it like that, or was it?
No, like I say, it showed a red toolpath line way off the board, and I did not scale down so that I could see exactly where it was going.
Yeah, I would say that you probably have a point, like a single vector point somewhere way off that you need to remove.
Yeah, that was my take on it, and I didn't think of scaling down. Maybe I can find where it is that way.
You could drag a box around where that point is, and then just say delete. So like in that square on the side, so like over here.
Right. No, I didn't see the point. I just saw this toolpath going off screen, basically.
Delete, and then that might help too. And then you could just delete that little point or wherever it's ending.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then even if there's something imperceptible that's there, then you can delete it and get out.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Sweet.
All right. And you're saying Vectric is recommended, or Carbide Create will also create toolpaths. Is that right?
That's what Lauren was saying that he has used. I haven't used Carbide Create. I think Mike's used it too.
Used it. I use it most of the time now.
Dustin use it. Okay.
Yep.
So is that? Yeah. Can you talk on that a little bit then, Dustin, about Carbide Create and the difference in it?
Yeah, actually, I actually have it open. I can show you guys. Share my screen real fast. Share. Okay, so this is Carbide Create. You can go in and set up your job similar to how you do it in Easel. So this is the stock size that you're going to cut with. This is the thickness, and then kind of where you're going to start everything from, lower left, just like an Easel, and then you can set up your material. They don't have a Maslow, so I just use the Shapeoko XXL and just fake it. It's fine. It really doesn't matter what the machine is there, at least in my opinion. And then you can import using a button here to import your files, or you can create shapes along the middle here. Yeah. And then the reason why I like Carbide Create so much better is because I can group all my tool paths to do different things. So for instance,
Oh,
this
nice.
group 1 is a V-bit that I'm working on, and I can actually choose what's going to happen in each one. And group 2 is an 1/8 inch bit, so I can cut different things out that way.
And can you
So-
export them as groups?
Yes,
Did you
you can
do that?
actually sit here and I can disable and then export everything that's enabled, which is that V-bit, and then just swap it around real fast and save the other one out. So I have got my different tool paths that way, or my bits that way. So there's that. And then when you select objects, say for like this, you can come in here and choose, do you want to contour it or pocket out or texture or drill? If you just have a point, you can just do a single drill. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that it starts getting, this is all available for the free part. And then there's a pay version of this that goes even more in depth, but I haven't had to hit that yet. So as you can see, if I zoom in, it's really detailed with this V-bit cut on this one. So you can see there's a lot of paths on it, and you can show simulation just like you do in Easel. The difference that I don't like is that it doesn't show you movement in the cut. So you can't watch it cut as a preview like you can in Easel. It's just all done.
You can't
Yeah.
simulate the tool paths to see like where your bit is going to move around.
Right. And it doesn't look like it actually simulates V cuts as well. As you can see, these are kind of straight lines, vertical lines for this cut. That's fine.
Does it
I
ever
haven't
give you-
actually tested this out, so I don't know how it's going to actually turn out, but I'm
Have
setting
you
it
ever
up.
had it problems of it like cutting across, your cut or anything like that because of just a weird tool path or anything
No.
along those lines
Nope. You can set that up.
to make sure it stays outside of your cut area? Because when I first started, that was something that I had a cut that frustrated me, and I was trying to make a sign, and it just like right through all the lettering.
You can set your depth, your start depth right here, if you wanted to, so that there's I can't not remember where it is. There's another place that you can actually set the
like-
overall depth as you're moving around, and I can't think of it right now. But as you can see, even within the tool, each tool you can customize all the information. Like RPMs don't matter because it's not being controlled by that, but your feed rate, your plunge rate, your depth per pass, and your step over is all right here. And in fact, they have a whole bunch of kind of standard bits that you can choose from. You
Nice.
see like this is hardwood bits, and these are all kind of the standard presets, or you can set up your own. So if you've got your own bits, you can actually create them. Like I created this 16th inch Amana tool cut so that it has all the information in over there. So there is a ton of stuff you can add into this for free. Like Easel doesn't let you set up custom bits without the pro version, right? It won't let you cut V-bit or V-carve without a pro version. Carbide does all of that. But as you can see, it's very powerful, and it can be very complicated if you're not used to what you're knowing what you're doing here.
It's definitely like the next step up from Easel, but then when you're ready to take that step, you can get all of those details and things that you're wanting to do. So
Absolutely. And I would highly recommend starting off in Easel, and then once you're comfortable with that, looking into Carbide Create or Vectrix or any other systems that you find is better for you. I think Easel's like the default everybody should start on. Get their sea legs, and then once they're comfortable with that, then they can go explore the other tools because they have an idea of what they like and what they don't like.
yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan. This is awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna play around in this. I'm gonna download it and play around with it because that's one of the things with I'm not super good at making toolpaths and stuff in Fusion 360 yet, and I'm still trying to get the details of that. And this is kind of an in-between step between that. So
yeah, I do all of my design in Illustrator, and I import it from that. So
that's
I make SVGs out of Illustrator all day long. That's not a problem for me. And I import it into this so that it's very fast.
perfect. Yeah.
So
Sweet.
Has
Yeah.
anybody else tried Vectric desktop or Aspire?
Say what, Mike? What was that?
Dustin, you have?
no, I have never used Vectrix Aspire.
Metrics. Okay.
or
Is that what,
Desktop.
that's what it's called, right?
yeah, it's Aspire is 1900. It's a license for 1900, and desktop is the same thing as Aspire, but it's for $600. But the difference is that it does 3D reliefs. Aspire does 3D reliefs. You can do 3D reliefs with Aspire. You can do 3D things like that.
I am not ready for 3D yet.
Yeah.
Send me something that you made in 3D. Yeah, I'll check that out and see what it looks like. Because I've seen some pretty sweet videos on that, but I've not done it myself either.
Yeah, I did a 3D already, but not with the M2.
Okay. Yeah. Cool, guys.
That's the
Looks
reason I
great.
got it. That's the reason I got it, because
Yeah, if you could do some more advanced stuff, another step up.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for sharing. Yeah, this was awesome. I hope this was helpful, getting everything together, and we'll see you guys next week. Let us know if you need anything.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day.
See you guys. Have a good one.
weekend. Bye.